Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashton Doctor, your habit coach, and today we have a very special episode. Along with me, I have Adam Totounji, a podcaster, and we're recording from the extreme ends of the earth, right? Opposite ends of the
Yes.
earth, because we've got this Zoom call going on. And I'm loving this era of collaboration because we can talk to anybody, anywhere, and the way that our boundaries are breaking down is fantastic. Adam, welcome on to our podcast.
Man, thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. And yes, you are literally in the future. It's 7 o'clock over here in the evening on a Wednesday, and it's Thursday morning, I'm assuming, over there.
Correct. It's Thursday
Yes,
morning, 7
yes.
here.
This is awesome. It's crazy because ever since we were actually having a conversation recently, you were on my show. And ever since we had that conversation, it got me really thinking. And every time I go deep into thinking about the opportunities that are coming out of this, quarantine, it's just, I am in love with the future of what us podcasters and content creators, the type of access we have now and the opportunity. I mean, for somebody out there who wants to really kill it, it's totally possible now at a whole nother level. It's ridiculous.
We keep putting out content like this on this channel, so please don't forget to hit subscribe and the little bell icon so you know when future videos come out.
Correct. And in fact, the series that we're doing, these two podcasts, are all about why everyone should be podcasting and why, this medium should be growing and how we can start doing that as creators of content and why should be creating content. So, Adam,
Yeah.
like, you obviously weren't doing this podcasting for like ever. So, like, how did this journey start? Where did you start this from? Why did you start this podcasting? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so I come from a childhood where I wasn't necessarily educated the traditional way. I was from preschool till about first or second grade. I was in a private religious Islamic school, right? I'm Muslim born, and that was an awesome experience. But because it's a religious school, it's different boundaries, different type of etiquette is taught.
Mm,
And then after that, I got into public school, the system for literally a year. Went through a lot.
okay.
I was bullied for my identity, for who I was. Unfortunately, went through a lot of weird things, like a lot of people do. And mom pulled me out. Said,
Okay.
"We're not doing this. We're homeschooling you." I was homeschooled from third grade all the way till college.
Oh, wow. How was
Yes.
that as an experience? Because I keep telling people that homeschooling is the way to go because you have to learn more than just what people are teaching you in school. There's an education that's there in life that we need to be picking up.
Look, just like anything else in life, there's always pros and cons to it. However,
Yeah.
if you were to compare it between public school and that, homeschooling is
Mm,
definitely way better. It
mm,
allowed me to, and this is where my story started, it allowed me to not have a limitation to my level of creativity.
mm,
I was never told my dreams were impossible. All I was told was wake up, do what you got to do. My mom only cared about my religion. That was the only thing she cared about. She was like, Adam, all I care about is the fact that you become a Muslim you stay a Muslim and we're on the same pathway here. And, I end up seeing you in paradise. That's all she cared about. She didn't care about
right.
what career, what path. To her, as long as I was good with God, my life would be fine. So that's how she educated me. And so
Mm,
I was never told, hey, you're crazy or doesn't make sense. Obviously as a kid I was very hyper, and so a lot of people tell me to calm down naturally, but
mm,
I was very much a dreamer. And so as a kid I just had this really big urge for being very famous.
mm,
And I'm very transparent about this.
mm,
I'll tell you guys this, like one of the cons that came out of being able to be super creative was like a little bit ego involved, and you
right.
kind of learn to dissect it and like be able to channel the energy elsewhere. But I really 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 wanted to become famous. And
Mm,
the reason why is because I was very 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 attracted by one very simple idea. Man,
mm,
imagine if you were that popular. Like, let's say, I was just on another podcast earlier today. I said Justin Bieber.
mm,
The name just randomly came up.
yeah.
Pop star, world internationally known, right?
Correct.
Maybe and or let's say, Donald Trump. Who doesn't know
Yeah, of
Donald Trump,
course.
right? The influence that comes behind that. I was like, man, I wish there was a world of people. And this was me at the age of like 14. I was like,
Mm-hmm,
I wish there was more people out there using that level of fame to change the
mm,
world. I always wanted to be that guy that everyone knows, but I'm a part of the crowd. Like,
Nice.
I don't know why that feeling is like really cool to me. Maybe it's
Hmm.
ego driven. I don't know. It's like a mix of humility / ego in a way, but that's
Correct.
where that whole, I guess, story started. Anyway, fast forward, I got into college at a really young age. I immediately kind of went and got myself a position in the student government, was there for a couple years, and eventually was president, which was really cool experience. I managed a good couple hundred people. And so that kind of gave me like management experience. It gave me a lot of different experiences.
Hmm.
And, naturally, I guess just through like most of us, I stuck to one thing. I just
Yeah.
always, as a kid, I always stuck to my dream,
Hmm.
which at that time it was very selfish when I was a kid. It was like, I want to become famous to be able to change the world, right?
Right.
And then after college, unfortunately, I went through a big turn of events, a
Hmm.
near death experience that I had, and
Okay.
that woke me up.
Hmm.
And instead of now saying I want to become famous, I was more driven now to help others do that. And I realized that if I helped others do that, I'll actually become 10 times more popular than what I could expect. And I don't know, that thought kind of disappeared. It was now more about like, you know what, this life is more than just the minuscule stuff you worry about. There's a lot more to it,
Hmm.
and I started to really want to care about other people's like success, other people's, ability to achieve their dreams. And my biggest thing, I always used to say this, is I want to help create a world where people seek their full potential at
Hmm.
any given time and aren't told what not to do, and that what they're doing is wrong. Because just because you're different or you're an entrepreneur and you have this big vision doesn't make you wrong. It just makes you different. And unfortunately, we don't have a system set up in place in this world at all where it helps motivate those people to become a reality. Instead, we put them down, we tell them slow it down, we give them medication, tell them they have ADD, hold it down, calm down. You're not passing your school classes. You're probably dumb. When in
Correct.
reality, like for example, someone like me, I just wasn't stimulated enough.
Hmm.
Class to me was boring.
Hmm.
Um, I spent more time running the student government and that was a voluntary job. I wasn't even getting paid, than
Correct.
actually going to school. And so because of my story, my experiences, and realizing, wow, homeschooling had an effect on me where I was more creative. And then I literally went to college for a couple years, and immediately it sheltered me.
Hmm.
Right. And then I realized this is not where I want to be. And I wanted people, and I realized how hard it was for me to pop out of that bubble, to go from like having a dream to turning it into reality and building an actual thing. Right.
Correct.
It was really hard. And so Mogul Insider and everything came to life, honestly, after probably, I would say, 15 to 25 failed projects.
Hmm.
And it started off as a podcast, and the idea
Hmm.
was to give people access to information, most like you too, access to information that would be harder to get if it weren't for the content you'd be creating, in a sense, right? That's how I believe podcasters provide value. It makes it really easy to access information. I
Correct.
wanted to do that in the business world. I wanted to go out there, meet very successful businessmen, because I didn't have a college degree. It was kind of selfish in the beginning. I was like, okay, how can I position myself to learn from these people? But then what I realized is, wait, hold up, this could be a vehicle that can actually get my dream. Because I never
Hmm.
knew, like, how are you going to go off and create a world where there's a big group of people
Hmm.
that are constantly spreading value, are constantly providing educational value, are constantly there to create a better infrastructure for generations to come? How do you do that? I could not answer that question.
Hmm.
For the hell of me, I couldn't answer that question. Took me
Correct.
5 or 6 years until I finally, probably 6 months ago, cracked the code. Where I was
Hmm.
like, now I know what's going on.
Hmm.
And it's what's pretty intense is, when you continue to accumulate, it just naturally, the snowball effect happens and things start to grow. And Mogul Insider went from a podcast, and now what we do really is I'm looking to go out there and build a whole nation of moguls that do three things. They educate the
Hmm.
world on what's right,
Hmm.
and they sway away from what's wrong, basically. And the way they do that is they're experienced already in it. So my clients, people I work with, already have a resume.
Mm.
I do not work with people who are still, you know, at least from the clientele side, whoever's still trying to figure their life still out. I do that through the podcast, through the content. I help create a infrastructure of mentorship.
Mm.
And, you know, I'm going out there and I want to build a whole nation of them, a whole nation of basically mentors that, you know, in different industries and different worlds that guide other people to build what they've done, to succeed in what they've done, to grow at the level they've done. And I do that by booking them on podcasts because I figured out a way where I can help people build brands, build a presence, create a lot of value, but obviously have a monetizable return. Because that was the biggest question, right? Because the question was like, the gap that I noticed was, how many, like, I'll ask you this, how many social entrepreneurs do you know off the top of your head?
Tons.
Names that you've heard of. I know, but like when you say tons though, really though, like when you say tons,
When
like
you
what
say,
is the number?
so social entrepreneur is different, right? So it's an influencer who's now using their
Mhm.
social media presence for money only, right? So for example, is that what you look at?
Not money only. That's more so. That's just a marketing tactic. When I say social entrepreneurs, I'm considering people who understand the value of building a long-term brand are doing it for
Okay,
value driven purposes. How
right.
many of those are like out there? There's probably maybe obviously there's a lot that I'm untapping. Couple, I was last podcast you said 20, but you know after like looking at a list, I'm like there's probably a couple hundred. That's
True.
it. Like if you look into
Right.
it, like
Yeah.
people who are building legit stuff behind the scenes and have a brand like Gary V status
Hmm.
is not a lot. And that's why Gary's freaking killing it. That's why everybody and their moms knows who Gary is.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
because he's one of the only players. Like it's not like the competition space is like so small compared to the real world out there. And so I saw that gap and I was like,
Hmm.
why on earth are people not leveraging the power behind it? Because it's a
Hmm.
very powerful platform. And I noticed I came down to a couple things.
Hmm.
They don't know how.
Correct.
Like how do you create attention and buzz and then strategically position it in a way to help you gain monetary value in the future or in the near
Hmm.
future? How do you do that? It's not a direct lead gen method.
Hmm.
So that's the second thing that I realized. I realized that the second thing is people are used to traditional marketing so much so to a point they think that's the only way that works. They're
Correct.
caught up with that, right? They're caught up with their old ways because it's worked for the past 20 years. And by the way, it'll continue to work forever and ever to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
However, what people are failing to notice is these new channels, podcasting. Another thing that got brought up is Discord, right? It's a community where, you know, you have you heard of Discord before?
No, I haven't. I was just going to ask you
Discord,
that.
it's basically like a lot of streamers, esports players, they use it to communicate with their community. I'm
Okay.
actually building a Discord chat right now for anybody who wants to join, be part of the Mogul Nation, have a chat with the creator. It's a freaking amazing way to build live, like raging fans, and you can build a
Hmm.
server with hundreds of thousands of people in it.
Super.
The world is so adaptable right now, and because of
Hmm.
COVID-19, I realized that now is the time to like strike. And so
Yeah.
honest to God, man, like my story is just beginning to take off.
Hmm.
Uh 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I was still lost figuring out what the heck I wanted to do. It literally hit 5 months ago after years of trial and error, after like building multiple companies and failing, creating an agency and trying that out, starting the podcast, not really doing much with it. Like nothing was really going until I figured out what I just told you, which is it was
Hmm.
those two things. And then the third and final thing was that people, they're so caught up because of the traditional marketing scene. They're caught up with the ROI too much that they're not seeing the long-term value that a brand actually builds for you.
Correct.
Right. And I was like, okay, how can I take this and create a solution for it? And so I noticed, hey, getting booked on podcasts is such a great way to do it. And especially because of COVID now, because everyone's on Zoom. Look, you're in
Yeah.
India. We're literally chatting across the world, man. That's insane.
Correct.
What? The level of connectivity is nuts. And so I noticed that now is the best time to strike at this because you can connect with basically anybody around the world and
Hmm.
leverage their audiences. B, it can happen from your office. You don't have to leave. You're comfortable. You're chilling. Everything is great. And C, I know how to uh, leverage someone's audience in a
Hmm.
strategic way to be able to basically hint them down a funnel. Like
Correct.
it's like soft selling instead of hard selling.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
storytelling, really. And so what I do is I help my clients, make their dreams come true. It could be any business goal. It could be a personal goal. Like I actually literally had one of my clients wants to get into a partnership with Ashton Kutcher.
Hmm.
Right. And okay, then we set that as a goal. How are we going to strategically build a network to be able to position you in a way where someone like that's going to want to do business with you, right?
Correct.
Another client of mine wanted to do a speaking gig. Within 2 months, he paid us $6,000, $3,000 a month. Within 2 months, we're now getting him in front of a network, and the goal is to get him like a $25,000 speaking gig. Like, it's so cool. Like, we're basically allowing people to focus on the value while we in the back end take care of all the other stuff so that they can
Correct.
educate and create a better world for future. Because I noticed that if I'm going to really change the world and really create a movement, I can't do it alone.
No, you
And
can't.
so through TikToks, through podcasts, through social media content, through my clients getting booked on other podcasts, like Mogul Insider is basically going to touch every living soul eventually is my goal. Really. I want everyone and their mom and their mom's mom and everybody that knows them and that to not know me. I don't care about getting the credit myself. I just want the name to be known because the name stands for something, and it stands for something that's very powerful. And so that's my story, man.
Very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to dissect this down a little bit. All right.
Yeah.
So what I loved about this was right in the beginning, there were two guiding principles. There was this crazy creativity and this restlessness that was there, and this sense of ego that came along with it, right? And the way that you were able to funnel that or direct that into a particular direction is something that I want people to take away from this. Because I know lots of people who write in saying that I am restless, I am creative, people think I'm a misfit, people don't know, and they don't understand this. And I want to say that that is perfectly fine. As long as you know how to channel that, only then does it start making sense. Because otherwise, you're just going to go around in circles. And the faster you learn that process, the more time you have to grow and develop in this. You can wait till you're 30, 40 and figure it out. But I'm saying the faster you develop it and learn from it, the better it is for you. I think that was one key takeaway I took out from your story. The second one is on how, if you want to grow, you can't do this alone. You need a full, you need to have everybody growing with you together. And supporting people is one of the best ways of doing this. Very often we get into this mindset of, I'll do this myself, right? I can do this all by myself. I have the ability, etc. Of course you do. But the thing is that you grow faster and you get so much variety because you start partnering with people. And as soon as you take that as an important message out from this, your growth can be exponential almost, right? And the last part is about your 15 failed attempts. See, right now you got into podcasting, and podcasting is a valid business. Let me tell this to everyone, because I know a lot of you are wanting to start podcasts, but you're starting it from a sense of hobby. Like, I don't know what to do. Everyone's doing YouTube. Let me try podcast. No, but I'm saying that podcasting can be a legitimate business as well, as long as you take it step by step, understand the process, and hence start looking at it. Because Adam started 15 businesses. So obviously he had that business mindset. And that's why he got into podcasting. And that's how he's taking the podcasting forward. Right?
Yeah, and I just want everyone to know, like, I had zero clue. So, like, to go back to your first point that you mentioned, great point. I think everybody needs to hear this, though, at least for me. I don't know about your opinion on this, but my opinion on this ish is hard. Like, it's not easy. This game is not easy. If you're going to go out there and dare to tell me that you're going to change the world, just expect to have a very big uphill battle. Now, also at the same time, though, like, you could be the person that's like, hey, I just want a college degree. I want to get a normal job and live a normal life. And that's fine. Look, hey, I applaud you. My thing really, though, comes down to I just want to see a world where everybody can get what they want. Because unfortunately, I really envision a world in 40, 50 years from today where someone like me with my vision and dream is more supported rather than looked down upon in the beginning. In the beginning, they hate on you, then they come and congratulate you type of thing. And so
Correct.
the only thing really that kept me going was, I don't, for those listeners here that, are, if any of you guys have like religion or anything like that, it was for me, it was my religion. It was God at the end of the day, because I had so many moments where I looked myself in the mirror and I felt nothing but hopelessness and lost cause. In my head, I had this vision and it made sense. And I really wanted it to happen for the sake of people, for the sake of not even for me. I just wanted to be able to feel like one day I'm in a position where, because of the movement that I started, other people are living out their dream lives. Like, that is like the coolest thing to me, right? Because I noticed I wanted a certain life for myself and it was really hard to obtain. And
Correct.
so I had no idea, as I told you earlier, like, how do you take that into reality? I
Yeah.
don't know what that meant. And so the only thing that really kept me going was my belief in a higher power, because of one reason. As a Muslim, I believe that God's plan is always the best for you. And so I always used to tell myself that, okay, if this is God's plan, then this specific moment of complete despair is happening for a reason.
Yep.
And so instead of really dwelling on it, I would dwell on it for like maybe 24, 48 hours.
Mm.
But then I would ask myself a very direct question. Adam, do you want to be labeled a failure? What's a failure? Someone who gave up on their dreams. Do you
Yes.
want to be labeled that? And the answer was no. Okay, cool. I basically checked a box that said the following. I, Adam Totounji, will try till the day I die to complete the mission I have in my mind. And even if I fail trying, at least I can die. And on my tombstone, it says he tried.
Mm.
Period. That's how I channeled my ego, by the way. That was a very ego-driven statement. My ego was too big for me to say, I don't want to be known as a failure. It was an
Correct.
ego thing, right? But instead of making it in a way where it was like I was showing off about things, I turned it in a way where it motivated me and it created a desire that was impeccable. Like the desire was just so insane. I tell this to everyone. My desire to see the world that I'm looking to help influence and change with the people that we're bringing on this entire. That's why I called it the Mogul Nation. It's a whole nation of people doing this. And my desire to see that, even for 24 hours, like if I get to live my dream out for 24 hours and then die, and then you tell me, Adam, hey, you're going to have to work 55 years of your life to live 24 hours to see your dream come true, I would sign up immediately. And so really it's to wrap up those three things that you mentioned. Really, it was a mix of a lot of things. It was a mix of, my faith in God, as I mentioned. It was a mix of, just not wanting to really, I love that you meant, because I never really thought of that. Like the fact that you mentioned that I took certain behavior characteristics and I swapped them and I channeled them in a way to help me out. For sure, that was a big one.
Correct. I love it.
Yeah, man. It's really
Superb.
fun stuff,
Adam,
man.
I think this is a fantastic place to end our first part of this podcast. How can people get in touch with you, and what should they do? How should they reach out to you? And
great question. So in the near future, we're actually creating a Discord chat, but for now, at Adam Totounji on all social media accounts, you can literally search me. I'm all over the place. Instagram, easiest way to DM, because I'm always looking at that.
Okay.
And yeah, that's basically it.
Perfect. Awesome. Superb. So I'm super excited about our part 2, which is about how should we start our podcasts, right?
Yes.
And that's going to be coming up soon. So let's get straight into that. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
All right. So Antariksh, we'll start the next part of our podcast. I'll do the intro later on. So we'll just dive in almost as if our conversation was just going on. All right. Superb. So, Adam, we had a fantastic conversation about your journey into podcasting, how podcasting can become a big business, and how people should be thinking about using podcasts as a way of changing the world. And I remember when I was on your podcast, you asked me this question saying that, have you ever seen a podcaster who didn't want to change the world? And I found that as a beautiful question. I was like, yeah, actually, when I thought about it later, I was like, everybody has a message that they want to send out.
Yeah.
And I know so many people who are listening to this podcast right now want to do something. They just don't know how. They either maybe starting an Instagram channel, or they're saying that YouTube is too busy. Maybe I'll do podcasting. I don't know how. So today, this podcast, I want to deep dive from an expert like you on how we should start thinking about creating a podcast. What are the things that we should do for a podcast and how we should take this journey forward?
Okay,
So,
let's
Adam,
rock and
welcome.
roll. Thank you.
Super.
I'm excited. Let's crush it.
All right. So, Adam, podcasting, what is this world about?
So the root podcasting came from the Apple iPod,
Right.
and yeah. So honestly, podcasting has been around for a long time. But I mean, you've been around. I mean, you said you listened to podcasts like 5-6 years ago, right?
5-6 years ago, yes.
So, and Joe Rogan's podcast, for example, has been around forever.
Yeah.
The only reason why I feel like it took a massive shift is because content creators became creative. So, like, I wouldn't necessarily call what we're doing right now a podcast, to be honest. Maybe you call it a video cast. I don't know, but in terms of terminology, I don't get too caught up with it. Basically, what I like about it, what is podcasting, the reason why it blew up, is because traditional media, news channels, movies, the world of Hollywood, or for you guys, Bollywood, right?
Yeah.
Basically, the way it was all scripted. You were told what to say. It's all not fake, but it's basically like the way we used to look at celebrities and reporters was like, oh my God, these guys are on a level that is unobtainable. It's not us. I don't have anything to do with it. At least that was to your average Joe, right? Podcast came to life and introduced a long form content, a way of communicating through a long format, allowing the individual or the individuals on the episode or podcast to really dig deep into their own personas, to dig deep into who they are, to be super real, non-scripted. Some are, depending, but even those, still it's coming out of the creator's heart. And it's genuine and it's real. And so when people listen to podcasts, they're really connecting with the person. I mean, you mentioned it on my podcast. You said you get DMs all the time of people saying, "Hey, I can't like have a morning jog without listening to your show."
Yeah.
You guys are friends. Even if you haven't met, you're friends.
Absolutely.
I have this podcast that I follow, Business Wars. Oh my God, I love that podcast, man. Like, it's so good. But the point is really is this beautiful format came to life, and it just took a while, I think, to catch on. And because of a mix of a lot of different things, like Instagram blowing up, like YouTube video podcasts starting to take over the space. I personally too, that's what I got into. It started to get unique and different, and now because of COVID, the biggest massive shift, I think we just went from 20 to 100% overnight. Because now it's like a form of ease, and it's great because there's so many different types of personas, so many different types of hosts, so many different types of channels, so many different types of conversations. And so whatever kind of person you are, you can now go. And I think that's also another thing that took it over the traditional media, is because, how many news channels are well known? I don't really know this fact, but how many news channels are well known in your area?
About 6.
6, right?
Right.
How many podcasts exist in your area?
In India,
In India or whatever, where you're at.
hundreds, but like they're not popular. They're not as popular as the stuff abroad.
Sure, makes sense, because it's still catching its
new.
flames.
Correct.
Still new. However, what you just mentioned though is why it's doing really well.
Yeah.
Is because now anybody with any sort of characteristic can go watch content that they enjoy. There's no longer you're no longer stuck to 12, 15, 20 channels. You can basically say, what am I in the mood for today, and find a creator and follow their journey and have fun with it. And so that's what podcasting is, man. It's just to me, it's a great way to just, have a cool chat and meet awesome people.
I love it. So the big thing I took out of this was that you have to have a message that you're thinking about, or a direction in which you want to take your podcast, right? The second big thing is about being genuine and allowing your genuine self to come across. So
if you're starting a podcast,
if you're starting a podcast,
because your question was what is a podcast? So I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
So if someone is thinking of starting a podcast, like what are the aspects of a podcast they should focus on?
It's a great question. The first step I would do is cancel every single opinion anybody has for you. Cancel. Don't listen
Okay.
to what I tell you on how to run it. Don't listen to what anyone says. Like I literally tell everyone this and they go, what? What do you mean? Here's what I mean. My following statement is going to make sense to it.
Hmm.
The only way you can create a very successful podcast is if it fits your personality 100% to the fullest. No fake, no extra add-ons, no optional upgrades here and there. No, like you gotta be real, man. And the only way you're gonna be super real is if you stop
Hmm.
asking other people how to run your podcast, right? And
Love it.
so,
Okay.
and so the first tip I would give is ask yourself, what kind of communication do you enjoy?
Hmm.
The way I mentor and I tell people on really
Mhm.
anything in life is I don't take the approach of saying this is the way. I ask questions to gain information and guide them based off of that, right? And
Right.
so all my clients, when I work with them, we're always having like strategy sessions and calls all together all the time. And
Hmm.
we're chatting about this. We're like, what do you enjoy? Like,
Hmm.
why are you doing this? Why
Hmm.
did you decide to start a podcast? And I want you to speak from a place of passion, not from a place of monetary or from a place of making money. This is purely
Yeah.
like, if you're going to start the project, first think of your vision.
Correct.
Once that's laid out, then start to list the characteristics you have of yourself. The way I would do that is I would probably ask a loved one, hey, what
Hmm.
am I really good at? Right? And
Correct.
it could be anything.
Yeah.
Like, they could say you're funny. They could say, oh, you always make me feel comfortable. They could
Hmm.
say, man, you're this. The answer I got was, Adam, you can hold a conversation forever.
Hmm.
Right? So I
Okay.
was like, oh, all right.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, this sounds good.
I guess. And so my podcast, if you listen to it, it's conversational, right?
Right.
You could be the person, like, for example, Gary Vee is really good at delivering answers when he's asked questions.
Correct.
So his entire content model is based off of that. The Ask Gary Vee show, the every single show that he's been successful in was because
Hmm.
it matched him. Because if
Yeah.
you're going to do this forever, and
Hmm.
like when I say forever, I know it's a big word. Let's say for 5 years, right?
Right.
Like if you're gonna do this for at least enough, how long have you been doing this for?
A year and a half.
A year and a half. Okay, and you've
Hmm.
built pretty quick, which is sweet.
Hmm.
But let's just say, let's put more, I guess, traditional numbers on the board. I
Correct.
believe if you're smart, you can grow fast, but let's say it takes you 5 years. If you're going to run for 5 years and create content consistently without the results you're really looking for, you're only going to be able to do it if you actually enjoy the process. There's no way.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's my biggest thing. I really focus on the connectivity that
Hmm.
you have with the listener.
Hmm.
Because if the listener feels like, man, I like this guy, man, I like this girl, man, like I can really understand her, I can really understand him.
Hmm.
If they feel that, because it's more so likely, there's a lot of like the reason why this works is because I feel like, yes, we are all so different, but we were also very the same. Like if I was
Hmm.
able to categorize humans in personas and characteristics, there's going to be a lot of matches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's going to create their own fans, and there's enough in the world for, and a lot of people can like different things for different moods. Like you
Hmm.
can listen to a podcast while you're in the mood of the gym and you're like, oh yeah, crush motivation. Yeah. And then like when you leave, you want to chill and calm. So you listen to a podcast that tells you about a story about this mega galaxy in this new world that's being, oh, very cool. I get creative. And then you can go, if you want to get serious, you can go open a sales podcast and learn. So like, you can be fans for multiple different things. And so what's cool is
Correct.
like when you focus on you as a creator and what you enjoy,
Hmm.
naturally you'll create a magnet. And this magnet
Yeah.
will only attract people that you want to be around. Like it's going to filter all the BS out for you. And so that's my
Correct.
first and most important tip.
Absolutely. You know, to take this forward, I keep getting asked this question, right? Like, what did you do? How do you do it? And I'm so free about giving this information out. And people then say, but aren't you scared that someone is going to copy you? Aren't you scared that someone's going to take this information and start something and do the exact thing? I was like, if they do two things, firstly, superb, that's like a compliment for me. But secondly, they will fail because they are not genuine to themselves if they're copying me. So they cannot copy me in that regard, right?
Yes.
So you have to learn how to be yourself in your podcast or in your medium. And this is true for any job. Even if you have a sales job, if you're trying to be like your boss, you're not going to get that. If you be like yourself, you're going to be a better salesperson in any case. So
Yep,
it
yep.
comes through all aspects of life on how do you find that genuineness. And I loved your tip. Just ask your loved ones because they know and see you every day and
Yeah,
understand these aspects, right?
yeah.
Ask your loved ones, what about me is good, right?
Yeah, and also ask the other question that you don't want to hear. What about me is bad?
Oh, superb. Yes.
Because that's where a lot of people get scared.
Mm,
Because when the camera's on you and people are watching, wait, you want me to be fully me? Hold up. That's like a lot of people make this joke of that's a graveyard with a lot of skeletons in it. Ha ha ha. But then
mhm,
it's like when we start to notice that you're not any different, man. Like people
mm,
hate on other people because of their own insecurities. And so
yeah.
in the reality of life, if you were to uncover everybody's like issues, we're all the same. We all have our own struggles. And so when someone has the balls and the courage to come up and speak on that and be okay being the spotlight, other people love to follow that. Oh my God. They're like, dude, geez, this guy is a leader.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
podcasters, in my opinion, are literally leading the world into a. It's crazy because the people who don't know about us are sleeping on this so much because, like,
Mm,
I actually believe the podcasting is going to be written down in the history books as a form of media that completely innovated the world
mm,
because it's. I mean, you know, it's
yeah.
literally like a heavenly place to be in. But I think really the main challenge people face is not wanting to confront that
Mm,
person. Like, okay,
mm,
Adam, cool, nice tip, I like it. Be yourself. Oh man,
mm,
I don't like myself. I'm weird. I talk too much. I cuss a lot. I have a weird voice. Um, I'm not funny. Uh, do you see how weird I am? Like, do you see how open I am right now with you? Like,
correct.
this is why I feel like I've been able to connect with you and so many others and so many opportunities come out of it because I want 100% me, man. Like
Mm,
the weird me, the bad me, the good me. Obviously, I try to balance out the bad as much as I can. If I make a mistake, I apologize. The normal respect rules and factors in
mm.
place, and I always try to deliver value. But at the end of the day, look, man, like I talk a lot. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And own that shit. You're like,
Yeah,
so
man,
true.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I could keep talking forever. I literally the last part, man. I stopped because your guy came and did this. I was like, I'm just gonna shut
Yeah.
up. Or else I could keep going for hours. And so, like, really take charge of that
Okay.
and take lead in that, you know. And that's where the real genuine self comes out.
I love it. So I think these are fantastic tips on how do you get the mindset into your podcast, right?
Mhm.
The next stuff I want to talk about is how do you get through the nuts and bolts, right?
Mm.
Ashton, what kind of mic do I need? What should I be doing? What platform should I be doing this on? How? So, those are the questions that if you've never been into this world, those are the questions that immediately come up. How should I edit? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? What are your tips on that aspect?
Um, just and I want everyone to know this. Any podcast I get on because of limited time, I can't go into it as much as I want to.
Mm,
And so my answers are going to be a little shallow, but more mindset focused.
okay.
My answer to your question on that is the only reason why people in anything in life over ask, over talk, over add anything more than they should is because of the lack of confidence and the insecurities they have in themselves.
Mm,
Period. If you are holding yourself back from starting a podcast because you're worried about where you should host it and what equipment you should have, like, come on, man.
yeah.
And by the way, it's a conversation I should have had with myself a couple of years ago because I fell through that trap too. I was like, I want to have the best production, the best quality, the best everything. La 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 la. Even my mom was like, dude, just go record. Pull out your phone and record, man. Stop, because in these months, by the way, I'm a big example. I stopped my podcast for 6 months because I was so caught up with the level of
Right.
production we were developing, and I couldn't keep up with it at that level I was at. And so, to answer your question, really, it comes down to if you're asking those questions, it's probably
Mm,
because of
mm,
something else.
yeah.
You know what I
You are
mean?
so right. So for the last 3 months, all my podcasts have been recorded on an iPad. Okay, guys, all my podcasts, I swear, have been recorded on an iPad, Android tablet, because I just don't have access to any equipment here. So my mic is coming 2 days from now, so hopefully the audio quality will improve from now onwards. But it's so interesting that the first panic. I was like, oh shit. So I now it's 1 week. So how do we use that? And I just said, okay, fine. Let's see what will happen. The important thing is to get the message out there. The important thing is that, I can continue communicating with everybody. So just start the process of communicating and you will see it grow. You will see it change. And
Take
all your
the
confidence will
imperfect
come.
action. Take imperfect action.
Imperfect
Yeah.
action.
Take
right?
imperfect action. I mean, all of us have a phone. Most of us do.
Yeah.
Right. Literally.
Mhm.
Ready? Yeah, I'm going to show you guys live right now how to start your own podcast. Wow. I'm going to give you guys a crash course. All right. I'm going to tell you, you're going to open your iPhone on your phone and you're going to go voice memos. Okay. All right. And then you're going to click record on the voice memo and you're going to go, hey guys, welcome to this
Right.
episode of this podcast that I don't even know what I'm going to name. And I hope you guys laugh at this episode in 20 years from today because yeah, I am not prepared at all. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Awesome. Cool. And then you stop recording, right? And then you go on something called the internet. Right? You go to Google, Google, if you guys are confused, google.com. And then you go host your podcast for free. And then you click enter. The first one that comes out for me over here is Podbean and Anchor, anchor.fm. All right, you go anchor.fm, and then look where I'm at right here, right? Wow, boom, there you go. Anchor, this is right there, a free platform. Within 30 seconds, you can put up an audio file and host it and get it on Spotify and Apple iTunes. Easy.
Correct.
Guys, that's how you start a podcast.
That's honestly just as easy as that. You just get your ideas in place, what you want to talk about, and just hit record. Anchor is a fantastic platform, right? Earlier on, you needed big productions to do these kind of audio programs, but now anyone can do this sitting anywhere, right? And that is the power of this medium. And I truly believe everyone should have a podcast, right? Because
Yes.
everyone has some form of message that they want to get across. Whether it's
Yes.
going to become something big or not, it doesn't matter. Because a large part of what we do as human beings is want to create a sense of continuity. That, after Ashton, there should be something that continues. And I see podcasts as a fantastic way of whatever's in my head to be accessible later on in life. Like whoever wants to hear about it can hear about it. And having the forethought now to start from today onwards is a beautiful way. And who knows what your passion might be? You might suddenly be passionate about astrophysics, and there will be tons of people who would want to listen to you, right? So it doesn't matter where your passion lies. It could be mathematics. Go ahead, do something on cool math
There's
problems.
podcasts on like the weirdest stuff, man. There's
Yeah.
like podcasts on like toys and how they make squeaky noises. Or like there's a podcast on a guy who has like I think he has a fetish for numbers.
Oh wow.
And then he just gets on a podcast and speaks up formulas and just like a complete robot just solves like it's the weirdest thing, and it's freaking booming, dude. There's like so many people that are listening. It's kind of like Reddit, man. Like it's allowing people to be themselves, and other people are loving that. They're like, oh, this is cool. Okay, I'll dig into it. So for sure. I mean, this is why Mogul Insider came to life. Exactly what you just said there is what you said, that I believe everybody should have a podcast. And so my belief was that everybody that has a legit background, has a legit message that they want to push out, has a passion, has some sort of angle to want to really make the world a better place should get a podcast. And so I went out and I built a company around it.
Superb. What was your first podcast that you listened to ever?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I think I got introduced to this world from Gary Vee.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that was maybe 4 years ago. My friend, literally after a prayer we had, he was like, dude, you know what you'd really like? You should go check out this guy named Gary. I'm like, what? Back then I had probably literally like, maybe like 200 followers on Instagram. I never used social media. So I was just using a lot of YouTube. I was into prank videos. Like, as a little kid, I tried doing that too. It was fun. I didn't really see this side of social media, and so I checked him out. And I think that was my first ever kind of experience.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. So one is starting. The second thing is, what a message I want to get across is, don't worry about how many downloads you have for the first comments, right? Just think about the content that you're putting out. That is my tip, because otherwise we get so caught up saying, oh no, only 4 people have listened to it. My mom, my dad, and like 2 other friends of mine. And then you just keep getting stuck in that rut, and your content suffers. So the idea is just, with blinkers on, continue down that path, because you have to have a long time frame. Like, remember, like when I was on your show, we were talking about this. We were talking about what is a long time frame for a podcast, right? If you want to do something for 6 months, don't start.
Look, I agree, and I also disagree, but not disagreeing on the statement. I'm more so disagreeing on the message it teaches people. Let's get a little more specific on that, right? Anything in life, if you're looking for overnight success, you should just not do it.
Correct.
Anything good in life that's going to provide real success and real value to your life in the future is going to take a while to build.
Yeah.
Now, that time frame, because of technology and all the innovation that's going on, has now shortened. Something that took 10 years ago to build, it can now happen in 3. Something that took 5 years to build can now happen in a year. Only if you're smart with it. And so the concept, though, is if the audience that's listening to this podcast has never started a podcast, the mindset you need to have to get started is, don't worry about the downloads. And I agree with you 100% on that. Just get going. However, once you get once you leave stage 1 of anything, you're more focused on like once you get to a point where you know for a fact you're never going to stop, like this is just it, then sit down and get smart and say, what kind of strategic moves can I do to actually blow myself up much faster? Because you have built an audience of over 100,000 people on a monthly that they come and watch and listen to all your episodes. That's insane. And you did it only in the year and a half. So, and I'm on TikTok right now, and I've been on TikTok literally for 45 days, and I've gotten 70,000 followers plus. And I've had over a couple of videos that went over in the millions, right? And so because of the tools we have today, attention's much faster to obtain. You just got to be smart with it. But the mindset, it comes in stages, in a sense, you know?
Yeah. You have to pass through the stages. You have to be patient with it. And then you said you have to be smart. You have to constantly keep saying next, what should I be doing next? And do you think people should reach out? You take on this?
You cut off at the end. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry. So I said, how should people connect with you when they start a podcast? Or if they already have a podcast that they've started and they've been doing this for a few years, what should the next stage be? Should they connect with you? How people get because action's a big thing now we were discussing. No? You can't hear me?
You're completely cutting off, yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're good. I mean, I heard, like you said, basically what should people do to connect with you, but I'm just like, for your listeners, it was completely static. If anybody wants to connect with me on anything podcast related, just reach out to me on all social medias at Adam Totounji. I'm mainly very active on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'm also creating a Facebook group and a Discord, but just reach out to me on one of those channels, and either me or my team members will hit you back up. And if it makes sense, we can do some fun work together.
So what should they connect with you for? So if you can tell us a little bit about your company and what it does.
Yeah, sure. So I guess to wrap everything up for the episode, basically what Mogul Insider does is we help people get featured on other podcasts to build their online presence and bring attention to what they're doing, basically creating making them a mogul in their space. And the real definition of mogul is anybody who has a lot of influence and impact in the media industry. And we've been able to figure out a way to help people build impact, build influence, change people's lives, but at the same time in the back end, create a lot of opportunities from it. I've had, as I mentioned in the first part of the episode for this this segment. A lot of clients, basically any really dream reality. I mean, the idea is when you're famous, anything could happen, and so we make that stuff happen. And in the moment, like within 30 to 60 days, our clients are seeing immediate results, which is so awesome. So we're able to kind of help you build a dream, help you provide real value to the world out there. And at the same time, build a business in the back end, or, continue to help building your current ones, or whatever it is that you might be up to. So.
Correct. Fantastic. Guys, if you missed the first part of this podcast, please listen to it, because Adam spoke about some very, very important aspects on how having influence, having that what he called fame in inverted commas, is a way of getting your message across, is a way of actually impacting the world. And it's not necessarily about the ego that you have. It's not necessarily about, oh, look at me, I'm famous, but it's about the influence that carries, and how you can actually use that influence to change the world in whichever way you think is correct. And I think that is what your main message is. That is what you are doing in this world.
Yeah, I mean,
So
like,
Adam, thank you so much for
honestly,
doing this. Thank you for reading out and podcast swap. I loved it.
yeah, no, this was so fun. I mean, just to kind of wrap it up, I guess, to put my message in one sentence, it's really two things. It's A, I want to help create a world where people can seek their highest potential and have the access to information necessary to help them do that. And B, I want to also see a world where people are not unapologetic for who they are. Like, you know what I mean? And so hopefully we'll be able to experience that together one day.
What I was saying is, I'm so glad that we connected, and let's continue changing the world like this. Superb. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Let's go. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.